The big question on everyone's mind is why is Disney Star Wars failing? Now, there are dozens of more pressing issues in life, but apparently not supporting Disney Star Wars is the biggest problem facing society in 2024. If Star Wars fans just accept Disney Star Wars, world hunger would be solved. The Star Wars franchise, the once beloved cultural touchstone, has become increasingly divisive among its fans, particularly since Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012. Fans, many of whom have supported the series for decades, now find themselves at odds with the direction Disney has taken with the iconic space saga. What is central to the issue, but often ignored, is the quality of the content itself, which many feel has dramatically declined. The reason some Star Wars fans no longer enjoy Star Wars isn't because they become cynical or nostalgic, it's because the newer films and shows often fail to deliver compelling storytelling, relatable characters, or a coherent continuation of the universe they once loved. No, that's not it. It's because they're toxic incels.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
I love a good Star Wars shill. We've been covering them for years. From Collider to Campia and even a Grace or two, Star Wars shills are our speciality. I look back on this era so fondly. It was fun, exciting, and... Wait, there's still Star Wars shills in 2024? Well, certain things are legal in certain states, so the people still defending Sweet Lady Disney's honor are high on life. The Mary Sue is the butthole of the internet. If you want waste spewed your way, you read this website. And I have some good news. They're back again with another article that is trying to get YouTubers who don't like Disney Star Wars demonetized. Why? Did Disney pay for your philosophy degree? A major issue in Star Wars fandom is the platforming of sexist, racist trolls parading themselves around as fans of the franchise. 10 words in, and you're already using the buzzwords. Awesome, lady. These men... Hold on a second. There are tons of women that hate Disney Star Wars. Let's pull up a picture of the old fandom menace right here, and, yeah. There's a couple women involved. What about them, ladies? What about them? These men pretend that their horrific and disgusting takes are just concern over the stories. Now fans of Star Wars are calling out YouTube for not demonetizing them. Existing online as a Star Wars fan can be tough. If you enjoy a Star Wars story that was made by Disney, you face hatred online because you're not a good enough fan if you enjoy the franchise. Now people are fed up and pushing back against those feeding the hatred. YouTube personalities fostering this vitriol were called out all weekend long by fans. What was it, a slow news week? Rewriting Ripley Pod posted a video that compared the rise of online hatred from people like Mayo Yiannopoulos to how certain Star Wars YouTubers talk about the actors of the franchise and the stories themselves. A handful of YouTubers have jeopardized the safety of our community and the creatives we love for too long. The Star Wars fandom demands action. Team YouTube, demonetize these channels. Hate should not be a career path. Again, I don't know what these people are smoking, but send some my way. Other fans wrote out detailed posts about why many believe that these channels should be demonetized from YouTube. The post points out that while fans recognize that YouTube has to protect free speech, what these platforms are doing is not opinion-based. It is continued, targeted harassment of marginalized creatives and fans of Star Wars. I'm a fan of Star Wars. I'm drinking coffee out of a Darth Vader mug right now as I record this. I'm not harassed at all. Those spreading the word are also very intelligently limiting their replies and following to Team YouTube to get a response. This is called coded language. This lady is trying to get you to help get these channels demonetized with this sentence right here. It's not like anybody's watching your channel, Rachel. Good luck. Unsurprisingly, there are other fans of Star Wars claiming that what is happening in the call-out is an attack. One notable grifter who makes his own bad lightsabers and sells them wrote, "Trying to deplatform anyone over not liking a form of media is the most vile, disgusting act there is. The reality is that men like this make money over harassing people. That's what it is. No, we all make money lampooning Star Wars. No one's getting harassed. Star Wars isn't a person. Star Wars isn't at home going, oh God, I'm harassed on the internet. No, Star Wars is a thing that somebody bought and ruined, so we're all entitled to talk about it. Getting on YouTube and saying this show sucks because of woke or I'm mad because I don't want to see a non-white guy isn't criticism, it's hate. Making money for being filled with hatred, enough already. Rachel, we've made videos talking about you. This voice, this channel, we critique the hell out of the Acolyte. Not white, But I got 1,000,001 critiques, and I know your candy ass ain't gonna watch, but if you do, keep watching, because I got something that should shut you up permanently. At the end of the day, the fan base of people like these channels, and even Star Wars Theory, attacking anyone they criticize on their channel. Sure, they may not outright direct their fans to do it, so it's not targeted harassment, thank you, but the obvious result of hateful vitriol and the type of people it appeals to. Star Wars fans that don't like crap, got it. These online figures weaponize their platforms and attack and belittle fans who enjoy Star Wars and do it to make money. It is to make money. YouTube continuing to fuel that behavior isn't helping anyone. It is. It's helping YouTube. You see, Rachel, when you have a channel like mine or other channels that actually make money, YouTube gets a much bigger cut and you get a small fraction. So all the money that we bring in, YouTube takes a big old cut off the top. They love us. They want us. The Mary Sue, what do you get paid in? Pumpkin spice lattes, kitty litter, hocus pocus blankets. Hey, anything to keep you warm at night, because you're definitely sleeping alone. All it does is breed more hatred because people like these jabronis. Oh, you're getting yours in a minute. Don't ever quote The Rock. See dollar signs and don't have a kind bone in their body. I'm proud of the Star Wars fans calling these men out. Rachel, you and your weird cult of cat ladies aren't Star Wars fans. You're just desperate. This has been going on since 2017, and somehow people keep acting surprised that a lot of fans don't like Disney Star Wars. It's funny. The Mary Sue article reads as jealousy. Why do these people make so much money while I virtuously chip away at all the injustices my white, upper middle class, iPhone using, Stanley Cup drinking, bad opinion having ass has to endure? It's just not fair. Like what I like, feminism is...
Oh, shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty!
Now, I don't watch these associated channels, so I don't know exactly what they're saying, but I did watch The Acolyte, and I know the show was crap. I never made my opinions about Disney Star Wars a secret. I hated it so much that I made a highly successful graphic novel about my disappointment in The Force Awakens, and I'm working on its sequel about the nut bar formerly known as Mark Hamill. Now, since I'm not white, I usually don't get the same pushback other channels do. Maybe it's because it's in bad taste to question a minority, it's not, or it could be that my reasons are too sound for these reactionary weirdos to take issue with. After all, I am a writer, and I am world class. Instead of going on some tangent about ideology or wokeness, I'm going to give you the real reason people hate these movies to shut up the jabronis like Rachel Leishman and the pointless website known as the Mary Sue. Now, right now, I have a lot of collectibles around me, but the one thing I don't have is a chalkboard, and I wish I had a chalkboard because you're about to get schooled. Disney Star Wars films have been met with significant criticism, primarily due to the storytelling and character development. Now, let's go back to the sequel trilogy, because in the beginning, it left many fans disappointed. The films were often accused of rehashing the old ideas, lacking creativity, and undermining the legacy of the original characters. Remember Luke Skywalker, when you cared about Luke? Well, Luke Skywalker's transformation into a disillusioned hermit, for example, was seen by many as a betrayal of the character's arc in the original trilogy. Iconic characters such as Han Solo were killed off without meaningful closure, while others like Leia were sidelined or mishandled. See Leia Poppins. The new characters were also criticized for being underdeveloped or created solely to replace the beloved original cast. Rey, the central figure in the sequels, was often referred to as a Mary Sue, the character who seems overly perfect and faces no real struggles. This made her difficult to relate to and disconnected audiences from her journey. The focus on making older characters like Luke and Han serve the narrative for these new protagonists diminished their significant roles and alienated the longtime fans. Sidelining legacy characters contributed to the perception that Disney was more interested in pushing new merchandise than telling a cohesive, meaningful story. Another major point of contention has been the perceived forced political agenda with all of Disney's Star Wars projects. Many fans believe that certain social and political themes were inserted into the films and shows to appeal to one side of the ideological spectrum, without regard for storytelling or the broader fan base. For example, characters like Admiral Holdo or my favorite, Rose Tico, were introduced in a way that felt less about organic character development and more about fulfilling specific society-driven quotas. Fans who were critical of these decisions were often branded as sexist or racist, even if their objections were centered around the execution of the characters, rather than their gender or ethnicity. The political focus has been the sticking point for many, as it feels like Star Wars, once a story about the universal struggles between good and evil, has become a platform for virtue signaling. The backlash was significant, and it became clear that a portion of the fanbase wasn't on board with what they saw as shallow attempts to modernize the series without respecting its history. In response to these criticisms, creators and the media often lashed out at the very fans who helped make the franchise the cultural phenomenon that it was. Rather than addressing the legitimate concerns raised by fans, some creators and journalists have labeled them as toxic, incels, or man-babies. These harsh terms are meant to discredit dissenting voices, framing any critique of the new films or shows as rooted in misogyny or racism. This antagonistic relationship between Disney and its audience has only worsened over time, with many feeling that they are no longer welcome in the fandom that they helped build, something that websites like the Mary Sue has definitely fueled. The effect of this anti-fan sentiment has been damaging to Star Wars. Rather than engaging with fan concern and improving content, Disney and its defenders seem more interested in dismissing critical voices. This creates the ever-growing divide where fans feel disconnected from creators and less inclined to invest time or money in future Star Wars projects. The widening chasm between Disney and the Star Wars fanbase has had a tangible impact on viewership. The Disney Plus series have seen a significant decline in viewership, with shows like The Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi failing to capture the same magic as earlier entries like The Mandalorian. The viewership drop has been accompanied by increasingly high production budgets, putting these shows in a difficult financial position. The most recent example of this is every cat lady's favorite, The Acolyte, a series which was thankfully cancelled due to its massive budget and low viewership. Fans had little interest in the show, despite a small vocal minority on social media advocating for it. The question arises, why do the Acolyte supporters spend so much time on social media defending this series and Disney Star Wars, but not enough time actually watching or supporting these shows? The disconnect between the online discourse and the actual viewership speaks to a broader issue. The most vocal supporters of Disney Star Wars seem more interested in defending the brand on ideological grounds rather than enjoying the content itself. The problem Disney Star Wars faces is that the small vocal contingent of these fans is simply not enough to keep these shows viable. No matter how loud these fans are online, the numbers tell a different story. Without widespread support from the broader fanbase, the shows are doomed to fail financially. The loudest voices may trend on Twitter, but they aren't enough to generate the necessary viewership or merchandise sales to justify the immense budgets. You can watch our toy videos to see the physical representation of how Disney Star Wars fails to connect with audiences, and we even have a video about the Acolyte toys, so check that out right now. Disney's handling of Star Wars has alienated much of its fan base through poor storytelling, mishandled characters, and a heavy-handed political agenda. Creators like Leslie Headland's antagonistic response to fan criticism has only deepened the divide, leading to a declining viewership and the cancellation of The Acolyte. Despite a small vocal minority of supporters, these fans seem more interested in defending Disney than supporting the content. As a result, the projects flounder, raising the question, why don't these so-called fans back up the loud support with tangible action? If they love the franchise so much, why don't they support it? It's a tale as old as time, Beauty and the Ham Beast. Though I hate calling Star Wars a beauty, but for this analogy, it is definitely apropos. Friends, I have seen this for years. It has been 9 years that these people are defending Disney Star Wars, and it gets uglier and uglier. You know, I was the one guy that hated The Force Awakens. I just dealt with that on my own island. But then everybody kind of got together around The Last Jedi. We networked, we built the Fandom Menace, and things changed. Now here on WCBS, I always critique these shows on how bad they are. And if the political agenda goes above the story, then it becomes that dreaded W word to me. Black people in movies, that's not woke. Gay people in movies, not really woke. But taking out Luke Skywalker, replacing him with a woman who has no flaws and has to be above everybody else,
put a chick in it, make her gay,
and can't have a black boyfriend, that's woke. That's bullshit, and that's garbage. It's not all white people that hate these movies. Believe me, you can listen to our show where 3/4 of us aren't white, and we will tear this thing apart left and right. You're not going to find us kissing Disney Star Wars ass around here, and it really bothers me that people at the Mary Sue think that it's just angry white guys that hate these movies, but everyone else loves them. That's not the case. Most people aren't into Star Wars these days. The Star Wars section at your local store has been shrunk next to nothing. Star Wars is the belle of the ball at Ollie's, but Ollie's is a discount outlet store, which gets old merchandise and sells it at a fraction of the cost. That's the only way Disney Star Wars sells, at a fraction of the cost, because it only appeals to a fraction of the audience. So I love articles like this from the Mary Sue. It just goes to take their credibility and flush it down the toilet. Rachel Leishman wears her insecurities on her sleeve. She's like Grace Randolph and all these other journalists. Excuse me, jabronis. They're really just privileged white women bitching about guys. That's what it is at the end of the day. So to those ladies out there who work in these industries that want to stick it to the men for their past transgressions, look, Star Wars doesn't deserve this, okay? This isn't your therapy session. Leslie Headland used Star Wars for a therapy session, and look what happened. It wasn't very good, was it? No, we had the Acolyte, and we all laughed. And you know what? Maybe just maybe, the fans are wrong. Maybe The Acolyte wasn't a terrible garbage show. Maybe it was the greatest satire of Star Wars ever. No, fuck that. That goes to Spaceballs. But folks, if you want the second best Star Wars satire and parody, make sure you read Stealing Solo. Written and drawn by me, it features a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans, you know what that's like, who kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake The Force Awakens in their basement. It's been called Laugh Out Loud Funny, and I have great news. The sequel's coming soon. It is deep into production, so be on the lookout for Stealing Solo, The Force Awakens. It's about our good old friend Mark Hamill and his, well, I can't spoil the story for you, but it does tie into the third book very well, Frankenfisher, the Bride of Solo. So folks, I'll have an ad at this so you can see what the book looks like, but go to stealingsolo.com right now and get yourself a copy. And if you're really nostalgic for the Fandom Menace, there's a Fandom Menace edition where you get 4 books for the price of 2. So folks, grab yourselves a copy. Supplies are very limited. That is not a sales tactic. There are less than 5 boxes of Stealing Solo left, and only maybe 27 Fandom Menace editions available to you. So folks, do yourselves a favor. Act now so you don't have FOMO, because once it's gone, it's gone. And if you want to lambast Disney Star Wars, there's only one place to do it, WCBS. We are the first, we are the best, and we are the epitome of pop culture. I've been your host, Jeff. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back next time with more. But in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other. Stealing Solo asks the greatest what-if question of all time. What if a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in their basement? That, and a whole lot more, is answered in Stealing Solo, a Captain's Parody. Stealing Solo has been called Laugh Out Loud Funny and the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs, and it's available now for a limited time only. Go to stealingsolo.com, which is powered by Shopify, so you get the reward-winning safety and security, and get yourselves a copy today. Once we sell through this limited backstock, I'm going back to the drawing board to bring you the sequel, which parodies Luke Skywalker's fall from grace, and finally the closing chapter, which I can't wait to get to, Frankenfisher, the Bride of Solo. And yes, it's exactly what you think it is. So folks, the only way to get that is go to stealingsolo.com right now, get yourselves a copy, and enjoy the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs.